This is A to Z with Mark Zinno, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, and it starts now.
Good afternoon. Welcome to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, where today I tell you maybe it is okay to look at other people. Welcome in. We are live here on this Wednesday afternoon, a jam-packed show for you guys. So much to get to. Appreciate you making A to Z part of your daily lineup, and thank you so much for taking part in Locked On Sports Atlanta. It is a great venture that we are part of. We're getting so much traction, and I love the fact that everybody is getting on this ride with us. It's been a ton of fun here at the start, and we're certainly glad that you guys have chosen to stay with us here on Locked On Sports Atlanta and A to Z. Coming up, why the Falcons don't understand the assignment, and as well, one of the stupidest correlations I've heard in quite some time. We'll get to all that, but first we must start with the Atlanta Hawks, who lose again in Game 2 to the Miami Heat by 10, 115 to 105. And, when I said maybe it's okay to look at other people, that's kind of what the Hawks have to do at this point in time. You know the old adage that defense wins championships? Yeah, well, that's true. It does. And if it doesn't win championships, it certainly wins first-round NBA series. That's for sure. Miami's defense has been nothing short of impressive for the entirety of these first two games. I can't think of a major defensive lapse that they have had, a stretch that went on for 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes at any point in time during this series. And to me, it's weird because the narrative, at least here in Atlanta, is more centered around the Hawks, which I get and I understand because, this is who we cover. It's a team that we love. But, I've seen people write and say, well, shots just weren't falling for the Hawks. Guys, they shot 47% last night. Shots were falling. Maybe threes weren't falling. And once again, it's not that the Hawks live and die by the three, but when they don't make threes, their offense looks dynamically different. But Miami gets some of the credit here. Miami gets a lot of the credit. Miami has great perimeter defense. That's why threes aren't falling. I saw people talk about Trey. Well, Trey's got to take better care of the ball. Trey had 10 turnovers last night. He's got to take better care of the ball. Guys, Trey averages 4 turnovers a game this year. That's not – the 10 turnovers is an anomaly. It's not a consistent rap on Trae Young that he's got to take better care of the ball. He's averaged 8 turnovers a game in the first 2 games. It's not Trae that needs to take better care of the ball. They need to figure out a way that Miami's defense can't suffocate Trae Young for the better part of 40 minutes of a basketball game. The credit goes to Miami. Look at Miami and everything that they are doing and how good they are. And don't really look at the Hawks because this Miami defense turns it up when it matters. They get stops when they need them. There were several times in that game last night, the Hawks were down by as many as 16, and they got it within 3. They were down by 10, and they got it within 3 again or 2, whatever it was. And Miami just knows how to turn up the defense in those moments. And the shots, quote, don't fall. That's what everybody has said. That's the whole sort of narrative again that the Hawks aren't shots. No, they are. Again, Miami's three-point defense is fantastic. And if this is the best the Hawks can do offensively, it's not enough. This may be the best that the Hawks can do offensively against a defensive team like this, and it's not enough. And they got complimentary scoring last night from Bogdanovich. He was hitting threes. He was unconscious in the second half. And they got a little bit of a offensive lift from DeAndre Hunter. 16 points, 18 points, whatever was not bad. But let's go back to what I said right after the Charlotte game. They had a game that night where they had 6 players in double figures, right? And they got multiple other scoring from 3 and 4 other players. And what I said going into this series, and remember, I talked about this against Cleveland because Cleveland's defense statistically was sandwiched between Miami and Toronto, the last 2 teams the Hawks lost to during the regular season. And I said that they need more than just 1 or 2 other complementary scorers. They're going to need 3 or 4 other complementary scorers against a team like Miami, against a good defense, if they hope to win the game. because it's not going to be enough. And that situation has bore itself out over the first two games. And I know the second half and the fourth quarter didn't play, but even if you just want to take the first half of game one and all of game two and take that as a sample set, they don't have it. Trey didn't have a bad night. He went 10 of 20 from the field. That's not a bad night. I get it. He didn't make a lot of threes, but that's not a bad night. Maybe you'd like to see him get to the free throw line a little more, but it's not a bad night. Miami's defense is just better. Miami deserves the credit. I don't think the Hawks should be looking inward and saying, this game was on us. We had this game. No, Miami was in full control of this game pretty much the entire time. And I give the Hawks a lot of credit. Remember yesterday on A to Z, told you, had to start fast. They did that. They kept it close in the first quarter, kept it close at halftime. Like, that was a game I'm like, okay, they're going to be in this thing. They got a shot. And then Miami pulls away in the third quarter and their defense locks down and the Hawks playing catch up the rest of the way. And to me, I give all the credit to Miami. I don't think the Hawks are playing terrible. I really don't. I don't think they're playing bad basketball. I just think Miami's that good. You could say they're not 100% healthy and that John Collins not being the other complimentary scorer is hurting them. That may be true. I don't think that there is a reason to doubt that assertion or say it's categorically false. It's not. But, they've been out with John Collins for the last month and managed to win enough games and two playing games and did enough scoring. They beat the Nets, for crying out loud, without John Collins. So don't tell me that this is about John. This is a insanely good Miami defense, and the Hawks don't have the weapons to counteract it. Look at Miami as to why the Hawks are losing, not necessarily the Hawks. Now, where you want to look inward if you're the Hawks is on the defensive end, because they have no answer on defense for anybody, period. Like, Jimmy Butler went off last night. That's fine. Sometimes that's going to happen. Again, Kevin Durant went off for 55, and the Hawks managed to find a way to win the game because the Nets defense is bad. This defense is good. You're not going to go out and beat them when Jimmy Butler scores 45. And, this is a team that has major flaws on the defensive side. I mean, Butler in this series has been great. They haven't even needed anybody else. The Heat haven't. Like, Bam Adebayo, I think he's got 9 points in each of the first two games. Haven't even needed him. Kyle Lowry hasn't been great. Right? Nobody else has been great here. So they haven't needed anybody else because the Hawks defense is so bad. And that's what they want to look at. If the goal of this team is a championship, if the goal of this organization is to win a championship, they have to get better defensively. You know what the Hawks really need? If they would like to elevate to the next level, you know what they really, really need? They need Jimmy Butler. Strong wing defender. I mean, DeAndre Hunter was drafted 4th overall. He was supposed to be a great defender. He's a good defender. He can't lock down a guy like Jimmy Butler. It's not going to happen. It's just not in the cards. The flaws on this team, as far as being championship caliber, are obvious. And the flaws in this team are going to get them bounced in 5 games tops. I don't have a lot of faith left. I know the series is shifting back to State Farm, and the energy will be great, and the Hawks have been clearly better at home than they have been on the road. But I have no reason at this point objectively to doubt Miami's defense. None. Are the Hawks putting up 120 at home? Nope. If they do, I'll eat my words. There's no doubt about it. I don't see them doing it. Miami's defense is too good. They switch too good. They are too fast. And they create a lot of structural headaches for the Hawks in their offense. It's just what I've seen over the first 2 games. If all of a sudden that's going to fall apart and change in Atlanta, great for the Hawks. I just don't see it happening. They're too well coached. They're too disciplined. And they're too deep. This is a Heat team that is on a different level than Atlanta. And honestly, look, it's okay to say that. Like, I mean, have the Hawks had a disappointing year? Yes. Is this where we thought they would be as the 8 seed into the playoffs? No. 4 or 5 probably is where we thought they'd be. Maybe even a 6 seed. But, they went up against they are going up against. It's not over yet. But in my mind, it's sort of over. I would be completely surprised if the Hawks manage to take more than one game in this series, just because of what I've seen. But, they did not plan on facing an incredibly underrated, very talented, extremely well coached, number one seeded Miami team in the playoffs this year in the first round. That's kind of the draw in the way it happened. They've got to fix it, and they've got to get better. All right, coming up next, we will dive into the Atlanta Falcons, who I truly don't think understand the assignment in front of them based off of day one of their offseason voluntary workout. That's coming up next right here on A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Search Locked On Sports Atlanta.